The open beta for Tower Raids is finished, and Techland is asking for your opinion about the Tower Raid update. And as you realized, I have a lot of things to say about this new update. Also, unlike other videos, this is not a troll, this is my legitimate opinion about the update. So I will also propose ideas and features that can improve this update. Let's start off with the most basic problem of this new edition. It just came from nowhere. There were no announcements, no trailers, or just about anything that could indicate the game will get new content. I especially hate the fact this update was released almost right after the DLC for Elden Ring. And I know I'm the only person who plays Elden Ring and Dying Light because these are completely different games, but it's still quite frustrating that I had to force myself to play the new update. Another poor decision was to make Tower Raids available for only a couple of weeks. This is so strange. In case you didn't know, developers don't have to delete stuff they want to update, because they have their own separate version of the game. Especially since, if the Tower Raids stayed in the game and then they were updated, players could immediately spot what changed and see how well those changes work. Because, to be honest, I already forgot the majority of this game mode. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Tower Raids themselves. The roguelike themed dungeons with new floor layouts, loot and modifiers that change the way you play, making them harder or easier. This is a description I would have given if I was making a normal video about this update, but after several different runs, I can safely say that almost all of this is wrong. The majority of the levels feel the exact same. No matter how many variations there are, they will always feel like offices or hospitals. Certain levels are outright copied and pasted, but with different enemies. This tower was untouched since the very start of the epidemic, although by the looks of it, this building was infected like 3 days ago. For you to understand, because I was playing on Nightmare, I didn't see my immunity, and I was genuinely forgetting that I was in a dark zone. This place just looks way too clean to be a dark zone. The amount of ideas you could have implemented for different floors is insane. You could have made a grotesque looking volatile hive with lots of powerful enemies, or maybe a floor filled with chemicals, decreasing your immunity and making the gameplay more layered. Furthermore, you could have added crystal cores, giving players another reason to do tower raids. Another option would have been to make floors entirely reliant on parkour, where let's say one floor collapsed. Or if that's too difficult, then make the floor flooded and electrocute the player when he falls in the water. And these are just the first few ideas that come to my head. You have almost limitless potential to make each floor special and play differently from each other, but instead they all look the exact same and have the same enemies. I get that it's supposed to be an office building where everything is just copy-pasted because that's how it is in real life, but looking at the amount of hospital floors this building has, it doesn't make sense. I think it would be better if this building contained everything people use regularly. We have hospitals, but why not add shops, gyms, or regular apartments where people live? The funniest thing is that skyscrapers with these floor variations already exist on the map. All Techland has to do is just copy and paste this same layout, and that's all. As for the enemy variety, I also don't understand why they are all the same. For context, there are no volatiles, drowners, howlers, and barely any banshees. That's like half of all special infected that aren't used. I genuinely don't understand why not make special floor layouts with special enemies. And if you think that a floor where volatiles are roaming around is too difficult, first of all, you haven't played Dying Light, and second, almost every person playing this game is jacked with hundreds of exotic weapons in their stash. The few times when I had to fight a volatile tyrant or a GRE anomaly, I was genuinely interested because it made the game harder. However, Techland decided to make the game harder with a different mechanic: modifiers. On every second and every last floor, a special modifier is applied. It can be either positive or negative. And I think that's the problem of these modifiers. At first, when I saw this feature, I thought that we would be able to get a positive modifier and then a negative one, so there's a sort of balance. But instead, if you get really lucky, on every single floor you can get a positive modifier that will allow you to steamroll through the entire tower. For example, during the final battle I got the infinite ammo modifier, which made the entire fight extremely easy. Or other times I was getting a mod that stopped almost all damage from slashing weapons, making me suffer because I don't have any blunt weapons. And I'm not saying that the game is too hard or too easy, because you can always change your difficulty in the settings. But the fact that these modifiers make the game so inconsistent really triggers me. And I haven't even mentioned that the majority of modifiers are just simple stat changes. For example, you have a mod that makes it so enemies do twice as much damage, and then another one that makes it so enemies do 10% more damage. I think Techland here just went quantity over quality instead of thinking about an original modifier. And since this game is a roguelike, I think it will be great to compare it with the greatest roguelike of all time, The Binding of Isaac. There, you only had 6 different curses that affected your gameplay, and I know it will be very difficult to implement getting teleported from one room to another, but some simple modifiers like not being able to see your health or having 2 floors merged together would have been quite interesting to see. Let alone the fact that the UI doesn't even acknowledge the majority of modifiers. I know you can see more info about a specific mod, but this description is usually incomplete. For example, here, the only thing I know is that after some time I will take a certain amount of damage. This gives me nothing to work with. I would have preferred if this modifier would straight up one-shot you if you stayed on the floor for too long, but you had a timer indicating how much time you have left. And some other quality of life improvements, like being able to see how strong is the buff from the Crescendo mod. But the funniest thing is that the reward for completing tower raids isn't even good. Picture this, you complete every single floor with different mods that were making your game much harder. Then you manage to defend the airdrop at the end, and all you get is an exotic weapon and some crafting materials. This is such a bad reward, not only because at this point we have tons of exotic weapons, but also because on the different floors you already found crates with exotic weapons. And I'm not saying that Techland should add another higher weapon quality, this will make things much worse. But the reward needs to be something special. Remember, this building wasn't looted at all, so it would make sense that the airdrop contains special guns. And if you think that J should be the only way to get guns, there's a couple of them you can get on the very first floor of the tower. Of course, giving you regular guns would have been pretty lame, so instead it would have been interesting to see some new variations of these weapons, like the flame shotgun for instance, or something similar to the Last Wish from Dying Light, or some extremely rare items like the XP boosting potion. Maybe we would even see a return of weapons that are long gone. And although all of these rewards are pretty good, I think the best decision would make us able to farm Dying Light points. Because I've already bought the game, I'm not gonna buy microtransactions in it. And it will make people buy more Dying Light points. Because let's say you spend weeks and weeks farming this special currency, and then you see that for the bundle you want, you need only a couple of them. Sure, you could farm even more, but some people might prefer to buy the smallest Dying Light points package instead. Making Dying Light points obtainable in-game would not hinder Techland's revenue. Instead, it would increase it because people who never brought any bundles would consider buying them. Every mobile game does it, and it works. You have a special gem currency or whatever that is really hard to get, but by paying, you can get more of it faster. There needs to be a way to get Dying Light points for free, but make it quite difficult so people who don't want to waste their time can buy it. So these were all my criticisms about the new tower raid, and I think if Techland had to implement one of the features I've listed above, I think it should be more floor variety, because right now there is no reason to replay tower raids. You've already pretty much seen everything the game has to offer after doing one singular run. So that was all, thank you everyone for watching, remember to like and subscribe, and I see you in the next video.